YouTube, it's Faye, and for today's video, we have this sick 2000 Ford Mustang factory supercharged. Super sick car in the shop. I know it's not a Toyota, but I think I can still handle it because thankfully nothing crazy is going on. It is just overheating. So, all right, we are gonna tackle this diagnosis today. Let's get into it. Now, thankfully, I was already able to verify the customer's concern, which is always the most important. It's like step one in any sort of diagnosis. As he was driving it into the shop, it was steaming, coolant was going everywhere. It was definitely overheating. So customer concern has been verified. One thing I did notice though, although it was too hot for me to just start touching and poking around and the steam was kind of all over the place, I did not hear the fans come on. So that is the first thing that I'm going to check today. That is going to be at the beginning of my diagnosis. Also, with something like this, you want to make sure that the coolant is filled. Obviously the coolant is going to be low because it was steaming and leaking all over the place. My floor was drenched. So we will also make sure that we start by topping off the coolant. So when we run it, we rule that out, low coolant, as a cause of the issue. Now there is another coolant reservoir here. This is so sick, but this is a separate system altogether. This is the supercharger coolant system. And it looks like there's plenty of coolant in there. And this has nothing to do with the rest of the engine overheating issue. This is a separate reservoir. Now, before I fire up the engine and get it a little bit too hot for me to stick my little hands in there, I'm just gonna quickly test the fan and just verify that the fan works. Just isolate that from the rest of the circuit and eliminate that from the list of potential causes here. And I'm about to commit a cardinal sin here, people, okay? Throw away your powered circuit checkers. Never use these, just take them and throw them in the garbage. That's actually what I learned in Toyota school, but this is not a Toyota. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this. And I understand that if you don't know what you're doing and you just start applying 12 volts places where it doesn't belong, yes, you can cause damage. But in this case, this is a very helpful tool and I'm actually going to use this today. Just don't be tattletaling to Mr. Cornell on me, people. Now I'm going to disconnect the electrical connector at the fan so I can apply power and ground directly to it. For some reason, people love to hate on this tool, but you're only hurting yourself. If you break a connector with this, you were either being too aggressive or it's old, brittle, and would have broken no matter what you did. Now, just looking at the connector, I don't have a wiring diagram for this car. Okay, I don't have any service information for this car at all, but I see a big red wire and a big black wire. So I can kind of deduce that that is power and ground. Maybe I am part of the problem. So I'm just going to apply ground and power directly to the fan here. Yeah, the fan works great. Now, I'm gonna warm up the engine and just verify that the fans come on when they're commanded by the computer to do so. And they should come on around 200 degrees. So we're gonna watch that PID here on my scan tool. And I'm using this Innova 5610 to do so because it features the OEM enhanced live data. And if you've watched any of my other videos, then you already know that I specialize in Toyota, Lexus, and Scion. So that's the only factory scan tool that I pay to subscribe to because for 99% of the vehicles that come into my shop, I'm gonna use Toyota GTS Plus. Now, I don't have the factory Ford scan tool, and I think a lot of people don't realize how expensive it is to subscribe to all of these OEM scan tools, and I'm sure that's a big part of why auto repair is so expensive these days, along with, of course, vehicles becoming increasingly complex and computerized. But just to give you an idea, Toyota GTS Plus is one of the more affordable factory scan tools out there at only $1,750 a year. Then, of course, you have to pay the initial investment of the computer, which I bought for $600 used, and then the special cable, which is $500. And I've had this set up for several years now, and I've easily recouped that cost over all the Toyota repairs that I've performed. But now, if I want to get the Ford factory scan tool, that's going to set me back around the same price as Toyota for a year. But much like Toyota, you could also buy like a several day or like a monthly pass. But for what? Like the one Ford that I may work on in that time frame? If this were a Mercedes, subscribing to the official factory scan tool is going to be over $30,000-ish. And Volvo is a similar cost. It's about $12,000 for an annual subscription. So this is why I prefer to specialize rather than work on everything all the time. But I will branch out every now and then. And for that, Innova 5610 it is. And I actually do have two other generic scan tools that read all makes and models as well. But unfortunately, they both require subscriptions to use. And I use them so infrequently that both subscriptions have expired. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't feel like paying for them right now. And this one doesn't need a subscription and will do everything that I need to do today and much more. It does TPMS relearn, it does parking brake reset, throttle body relearn, ABS bleeding, injector coating, suspension calibration, steering angle sensor calibration, literally everything that I would ever need for this car or any other non-Toyota that I bring into the shop. So, all right, back to the diagnosis. And we are right at 200 degrees, so let's check on those fans. All right, so the fan should be coming on right now. And it's not. So we know that our fan is good. Our fan does work. Our coolant temperature sensor works, at least it's sending a good signal to the powertrain control module or whatever Ford calls its engine computer. So now we're gonna use the active test to sort of simulate the PCM sending a signal to the fans, hey, turn on. So this is another really cool feature about this little scan tools. All right, successful. It says it turned it on. Let's check. Yeah, that's not on. That was unsuccessful. So we're gonna turn it back off and let's do a little bit more troubleshooting. So at this point in my diagnosis, it appears that there is some sort of electrical open in between the powertrain control module or the engine computer and the fan itself. So we're gonna start with the easy, simple, cheap first. We're gonna check the fuses, which I probably should have been the first thing that I did, honestly, but oops. And we're gonna check the relays. And one thing that I know about this car, you saw I had the battery charger on it when it first got in and there were no codes. I already scanned for codes. That's because the battery was totally dead. It's been sitting for a while. This is not a daily driven car. So there's also a chance that we could have some rodent damage under the hood just from sitting. It was stored inside, but that doesn't mean that rodents still could not potentially be an issue. So, all right, let's get under the hood and let's check some fuses. And of course, Ford doesn't want to tell us what any of these fuses are. Okay, great. All right, let's see the owner's manual. Nope, of course not. All right, so I found this online. We've got 1 through 12, 1 through 12, and I can actually see that there are a couple fuses missing in that fuse box. So this one that's missing here is number 7, and number 7. All right, secondary air injection, that's on the 3.8 liter only, and this is the supercharged 4.6 liter, so makes sense we don't have that one. The other one that we're missing is this first one, and that is, yeah, the electric cooling fan motor. All right, and you know, I actually did see a fuse in the cup holder. Hold on. Could that be our missing fuse? 50 for the V8. But then there's a reason why that was pulled, right? So there's still more diagnosis that probably has to be done here.
Okay, so I guess that's why the fuse is out. So I guess we gotta fix that problem.
All right, let's turn you off for now. Gosh. And let that cool down. All right, well, this is definitely, I mean, first of all, seeing this in the cup holder, yeah, but this is so the first thing that I should have checked, but oh well, you know, I got so excited about the car, so excited with the diagnosis, I was expecting it to be something like really, really, really hard. Always, always, you guys, simple, easy, cheap things first. Let this be a lesson to y'all, but more importantly, myself, to just get back to the basics.
All right, so let's see if we can't get these little fans out. I can either remove just the fans with these little self-tapping screws, or I can pull the whole little sub-radiator here. Check out this neat little tool from Klein Tools. So it's reversible, ratcheting, and it accepts these little bits. And when I use it, it's for your finger, to unscrew these little self-tappers holding these fans on. That is so handy. Sick little tool, huh? Love it. Heck yeah, I just got one of them loose. Now I've got this one, but the little screw, a little crazy there. It's starting to fall out, so I had to disconnect the electrical connectors in order to get it to clear. I think it's going to clear now. Yep, there we go. There's one. Got some markings off of it, so I'm going to try to find this now And the other one, oh my God, you can't see, but there is the screw up top is kind of popping out. So I got to get it from underneath, which is a challenge because I got another car on the lift. So I can't get it up in the air. I'm just rolling around on my back. You can not see it up there. Almost there. We are getting so up close and personal here, but oh, that was a long one. Hello. All right. We got both of them.
Okay, so we got the fans pulled, but now I'm curious. Uh-oh, we're busting out the powered circuit checker again. Heaven forbid. But is it just one of these fans or both of these that are making that terrible noise? All right, well, one is. I mean, it's best practice to replace both of them at the same time anyway, but... Oh yeah, they're both toasty. But the good thing about pulling them out is that I can inspect them, I can measure them if I need to find them aftermarket, and you can also see I've got a part number here. So I'm going to search that part number and see if I can't find these. But I mean, these are kind of wimpy, chintzy little fans. There's nothing special about these, so hopefully it shouldn't cost too much to replace, so we can get this thing back on the road and ready for sale. Amazing. All right. Sometimes you get lucky, but I'm actually not sure how lucky the customer is going to be today because this car is actually going to go up for sale soon. He wants to sell it, and I'm just going to tell you that on the test drive, you definitely don't want the vehicle to overheat. No one's going to buy a car when it's overheating on a test drive. Okay, so we definitely have to fix that fan. I don't know how rare those fans are going to be, those two little fans for the supercharger cooling system. I'm going to do some searching and we'll see. And hopefully I'll be able to fix that issue and see if any other problems arise before he gets this thing ready to be put on Facebook Marketplace or I don't know, wherever else he's going to sell it. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this fun little diagnostic video, and I will see you in my next one, which hopefully is repairing this thing. All right, bye.
For today, we have organic cabbage. Here we go.